Thank you very much. Thank you.
David Condon.
Thank
How
you.
does it feel?
It feels good. You know, it's very humbling. But after 6 months and just nearly 20,000 doors knocked on, and the pace of a campaign, it does feel like you've accomplished, and now moving forward.
Yeah. Tired?
A little bit, but I got a little rest this weekend, so that's good.
Yeah.
And then started early this morning. So.
Now, tomorrow you are prepared to announce your transition team.
I'm going to announce the leadership of the transition team. We still have some time, probably through the end of the week, putting together some task forces. I'll talk about those task forces tomorrow, and then move on from there.
Can you divulge any of that now? Give us a little sneak peek.
Well, you know, like I said, I'm excited about setting up some task forces to look at some areas that were relevant during the campaign, and then also in moving forward. It's pretty obvious, some of the issues we talked about during the campaign, and now, after the campaign, now it's about talking about those solutions and bringing the right people together. Have had great meetings already with our newly elect council president, Ben Stuckert. Excited about working with the council and really moving forward for Spokane.
Well, and the whole council, really, the makeup of it has changed now with Mike Fagan, Steve Salvatore. Alan and Rush very close. Looks like Alan might be able to pull this off.
Yes.
What's that going to be like for you to work with as a city council?
They are a key part of our government. We do have a strong mayor, but on the other hand, our policy and our budget is really set by the council, and having that good working relationship is key. And like I said, Ben and I have already spoken, and I think we're going to have it's going to be a great start. And continue to address some of these, very substantial issues for the city.
Well, you got your work cut out for you, for sure.
Absolutely.
Wanted to get your reaction tonight on Mayor Verner's decision to ask the Department of Justice to look into the Spokane Police Department's handling of the AutoZem case, discrimination, civil rights violations.
I think it's high time we do that. I think it gives the police force is constantly, looking for outside validation to their training programs and to other things, and receive awards for some of those. I think in this case, I think having that roadmap of maybe some of those areas we need to work on is perfect for a new administration, for a new police chief, and really moving forward gives us that roadmap to make sure the citizens are being served.
What do you think about the Spokane Police Department's reaction to the Carl Zem verdict? Or to the Carl Thompson verdict, excuse me. There's a lot of animosity, really, between the police department and some people in this community. And a lot of people are saying some healing's got to take place here.
Absolutely.
Can you facilitate that as the new mayor?
I think so. I spent 9 years in uniform, in my case, the Army, and a unit's morale is key to its effectiveness. And so I think we need to make sure that we're partnering with the police force and those that are there for public service. And we do also need to equip them to make sure that they're capable of executing the tough job they have. But that trust with the people is key. We need to know that our police force is upholding the law, is law-abiding itself, and so that we can continue to have the great city we have. But I do think the morale is key, and I hope we can partner with the police force and definitely move us forward. And I think everything's on the table now, and we need to move forward from this.
The day that you come into office, January 1st, is the day before your police chief leaves, and Kirkpatrick retiring January 2nd.
Yes.
That's a big job for you. You've got to hire a new police chief.
Absolutely. That is the #1 issue I'm looking at right now. And also, who is that person? What does our police force look like? And that's, if I can give you one sneak peek, that's one task force that I'm looking at for the transition.
Very good. The new ballot count came out again tonight, showing no difference in the percentages between you and Mary Verner, although the mayor has refused to concede at this point. What does that say to you?
I think we both, Mary and I, have a respect for all ballots to be counted. I know in the last 36 hours, I was knocking on doors of people that hadn't voted yet. I had a team of over 30 people out there doing the same, and we were encouraging people to turn in their ballots. In today's busy world, they're like, oh my goodness, we got to get those in. And so I can appreciate that every ballot needs to be counted. But at this point, I think the votes have been counted. I think we do need to move forward. It really is just about 6 weeks with 2 2 major holidays in there, and
Right.
we need to make sure this transition starts on a good foot, and I look forward to working with the city administration to make that happen.
Besides hiring a new police chief, you've got a budget shortfall to tackle. What are your plans for that?
You know, this is, this is one of the key issues that I was looking at the very beginning. The reality is this year we'll spend somewhere about $158 million. The proposed budget for next year is $165 million. We do need to go through a process of looking at those expenses, and I have been outspoken about I want in good faith to sit down with our bargaining units and talk about what is fair. How do we compensate our great city workforce, but at the same time make sure that it's consistent with the citizens it serves. And we're in hard economic times. Our citizens all-time high unemployment. They are not getting pay raises. They are not getting the benefit packages.
Sure.
And we really do need to sit down. And there are some great, and I hope through this transition process, there are some great advances that other cities are making to address this issue. And I think we should look at those and see where we can have that.
Is that something you plan to handle yourself, or are you going to hire somebody to help with those labor relations?
It is something I have said also from the beginning. I think having the opportunity to bring somebody in that's done this in other municipalities is a good idea for both sides, especially for the administration when you're really negotiating on behalf of the citizens of what is the price we're going to pay for our services. And I think having outside counsel is good for the administration. I also think it's good during the negotiation process to have that expertise there, so that it's best for the citizens and best for the workforce.
Do you think the police guild has too much power?
For
bargaining?
I think their job is to make sure that they advocate for the police force, and whether that's they have too much power or not, I think it's also incumbent upon the administration to make sure that we're coming to the table with the same negotiation power, if you will.
Sure.
And I think there are some common goals. And I met early on with the head of the police guild, and they didn't get involved in this campaign. And so I think we have a shared vision, a shared commitment, I think, to the citizens. And I do think we need to talk about that and how do we go forward.
One of the things you said during your campaign was that Assistant City Attorney Rocky Trapiti should probably be fired for the way he represented the city in the AutoZem case. You're mayor-elect. Are you going to fire Trapiti?
I think it is a case of what was the relationship with the mayor, and we never found the answer about whether he told or whether the mayor knew, and that's what I wanted to get to the bottom of. And if that's the case, I think it does not serve the citizens well to have an attorney on staff that made those decisions. And I never commented on the case, on the federal case. I too, like the mayor, believed that needed to be to the federal case. I did have significant issue with how the administration handled this case as different facts were revealed, and one of them was this case of in 2009 of what the conversations were between DOJ, interestingly enough, and the mayor and the mayor's legal counsel. And I would have difficulty having an attorney that in what's been presenting to the public was some missteps, and definitely not the right way to go.
So you would fire him?
He's an at-will employee of the mayor, or ultimately of the mayor and of the city attorney, and I'll be reviewing any of all the positions that are at will. And it definitely, the facts as they're presented to me, I'd have difficulty not.
Okay. How accessible do you plan to be as mayor to the media, to the community? How do you see yourself?
I hope to be very accessible, accountable, responsive. I come from a big family. I'm the youngest of 9 kids. I'm used to having lively discussions. I'm open to that. I'm not someone, I'll tell people what I'm thinking at the time. I think too often people don't want to talk about what they're thinking because they haven't made a decision yet. And I really think with the public, they give a lot of lenience to their public officials if they know what they're thinking, even if they haven't come to a final decision yet. People want me to have final decisions over the next 6 weeks, and I'm not going to say I'm going to definitely make decisions. I'm used to that. I've had both training in the business world and in the military that you ultimately need to make some decisions, and we need to move forward. And I feel comfortable with that. But I plan on telling people what I'm thinking as we go through that decision process. business. And so I plan on being very accessible as much as possible.
And transparent, it
Yes,
sounds like.
absolutely.
What do you see as your biggest challenge when you become mayor?
You know, I think the biggest challenge is, is really our economy at this time. And what part does the government have to play in promoting job growth? That's my comfort area. That's what I like talking about. I come from small business. I'm a lot of family in small business,
Sure.
and I think we need to have a serious discussion of how we do that. How does the city work with that? And we need to move this economy forward.
Sure.
That's what pays our taxes, which pays for those essential services that the city does provide.
I see a lot of storefronts that are empty right now.
Absolutely. I talked about that even with our press conference tomorrow about having it in one of those storefronts, just to highlight it. We're actually having it at a location where small businesses start, and I wanted to really promote where small businesses are starting. Over 90% of what drives Spokane's economy is small business. Less than 5 employees in those small businesses, and that's really what we're talking. And we need to grow those jobs locally. So yes, a lot of empty storefronts, and the reality is the city makes its funding from 3 areas: retail sales tax, and so we need those storefronts filled.
Well, as mayor, is this something that you can do to cut through the red tape, to make startups a lot easier, fewer hurdles to jump over?
Absolutely, and that's what I really. That's my passion, and so yes, there are some essential services the government needs to be providing, but the small business is my passion, and I do plan on being, an ambassador to small business, recruiting small business, recruiting large businesses to Spokane, and really working hand in glove with the business community to make that happen.
It was asked during your campaign whether or not you would cap your salary, as Mayor Verner did, to $100,000, which she did all 4 years of her first term. Pays $137,000 without benefits. You indicated you would cap it your first year. Have you thought about the rest of your term?
Definitely the first year it's in the budget that way. I think that's only prudent. I will say that I would never do anything that I'm not going to ask the senior staff and the rest of the city to do themselves. And so we'll cross that bridge as we move forward. But definitely, I'm willing to take the sacrifice at city and anything that I would ask any of the city employees to do. And I think we're in a time, like much of the private sector, I think the public sector needs to, take that same sacrifice as they ask for the revenue from our citizens, and it needs to mirror what the citizens are, making.
I know you didn't approve of a lot of the fee hikes. The vehicle tab increase, the utility fees, the water rate structure. Are you going to be able to roll all those things back and still balance a budget?
I think what's interesting, we'll use the example of the water rates, that we're getting some preliminary reports that actually the revenue is down. They call it the brown factor, that we haven't finished the year, so we won't know.
Sure.
But really, those regressive tax rate structure
didn't bring in the revenue.
It didn't bring in the revenue, and so it's policy-wise, whether it brought in the revenue or not, I am in full disagreement and will bring to the council the rate structure change. I also want to look at the rates themselves, and there was several different options. I didn't agree with the one that they had, and I'll be working with the council to look at that. So it's really two, there's the rate structure that just policy-wise I don't agree with and will bring to the council. And then the rates, I think we do need to be more realistic and how we look at those. And then also, this all goes back to the cost of delivering services, and that's working with those bargaining units to, how do we bring down those costs, and most of that's labor.
Yeah. The city just released its snow removal plan today in a news conference that the mayor called last week. She was a no-show at that plan. Have you seen the plan?
I have not seen the plan, so.
Okay, you'll have to look at it
absolutely.
and maybe comment.
Absolutely.
And maybe revise it once you're in office. I don't know. All right.
Well, I'll tell you, retail sales is key. We need to get that snow off the streets.
Yeah, all right. Well, congratulations again.
Thank you.
David Condon, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you.